Good luck.
We got 54 watching. Trek Campfish. Be interesting to see how closely your forecasts run to actual. Who are the Blues going to take? Alan Jones.
Can you get some of these on the?
Yeah, there's a few. Cool. Why Melbourne no pick?
All right.
How long we got?
I reckon we go live now.
Yeah, just whenever you're. Oh, it's not 6:30 just yet,
Yeah,
but
but we've got 50 watching, so might as well.
just give us the countdown. Hello and welcome to Craft of the Draft's live stream of the 2025 mid-season draft. I'm Mitch Keating. I'm joined by Jonty Ralphsmith, and we're here to take you through all of tonight's proceedings. 8 clubs, 18 picks, plenty to unfold. What are you looking forward to tonight?
Yeah, looking forward to seeing some dreams realised. That's always the highlight of draft night, and it's always great to see what clubs will do, particularly the mid-season draft, a great mechanism to see how they'll add to their lists. We'll go through what we expect clubs to do. We'll go through some of the top prospects and, the players that could find their ways onto lists before the draft. Then we'll go through our, immediate reactions as the draft is unfolding, and then some post-draft analysis as well. So plenty to look forward to across the next 90 minutes.
Yeah, heaps to unpack. And for those that are watching, you can get involved on our YouTube channel in the comments section, and we'll answer some of your questions, both pre and post-draft. We've had plenty of questions come through on Instagram and some older YouTube content that people were kind of keen to get answers to tonight. So we'll run through some of them quickly, look at the players in focus.
Yep.
But like you said, this is a night where a lot of players who have gone back to maybe their Coates Talent League club, they've gone to the State League football, or they've been in State League football for several years and just haven't broken into the top flight just yet.
Exactly.
And off the back of some scintillating form to start this year, have picked up some AFL interest, which is great to see. And we'll see up to 18 selections, so no more than that. And like I said, 8 clubs involved. So West Coast with pick 1 is going to be a lot of attention. And yes, there's been plenty of talk on who they'll take with Tom McCarthy, and that's expected to be made not too far away. But we're going to look into some of the main prospects in contention. Let's start with Tom McCarthy out of Richmond's VFL program, a club that has done so much work with their group and their talent pathways over the last several seasons. We saw Sam Davidson take out the Fothergill Round Mitchell medal last year, but Sam Durham, Massimo D'Ambrosio, Tyler Young, Markelty Lafau, plenty of other names that I haven't listed
Garrett
there.
McDonough,
Exactly. There have been plenty that have come out of Punt Road. And Steve Morris did such a great job over the last few seasons. And now they've got Jake Batchelor at the helm. And this year, and Tom McCarthy's not the only one, but he's certainly put his name forward as a worthy selection at pick 1 for West Coast.
Yeah, certainly. There's been a lot of media about that. So a composed halfback, someone who is going to give the West Coast Eagles, I wouldn't say experience, given he hasn't previously played AFL, but he's certainly going to give them a senior body. They've got such a young team, such a young midfield in particular, and that sort of clean distribution off halfback will hopefully aid them, and we expect him to be someone that will be able to come in quite early after he's drafted and play for them potentially later this year, as we saw them do with Ryan Marrick a couple of years ago out of the Gippsland Power. Obviously, he was younger. Tom McCarthy, 25, and has been one of many that has toiled away in the talent league, in the VFL, like he said, and is now going to get to realise the, fruits of all of that hard work.
Yeah, it's certainly exciting. And like you said, he's a prospect that we're very likely to see in AFL action in a matter of weeks, probably not days, but a matter of weeks. And in the post show, when we'll go through the selections made, and we're actually going to have a look at the prospects that get picked up that we think actually could be playing AFL football in the back half of this year, because we do see a lot maybe look at more raw selections and long-term investments. But the McCarthy pick certainly looks like one that will be something that West Coast can inject into their defence for later this year.
And it feels like this year, more than other years, there is a desire from clubs to go after mature age talent rather than your 18, 19, 20-year-olds, which there has been in the past. There is still some Coates Talent League players on the radar, sample sort of players that have just come out of the under-18s talent pathway system. Harrison Ram, one of those, who's 19 years old. Zach Harding, another one. But by and large, it feels like there's more of a trend to go to some of those older players. We'll move on to another one who does fit that slightly older age bracket in Riley Mason, a key forward out of Collingwood's VFL. He's been linked to a few clubs, most notably the Pies. So the Pies are keen to get a key forward on their books. Archer May they've been linked to quite heavily. So of North Melbourne, they'll pick 2. So Riley Mason might be their player to pick with
Yeah.
their first selection of the night.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be an interesting one to see if he is, going to join the Magpies. And Archer May is another one from the key position forward standpoint that, if one goes before the other and what
Yep.
that means for the other clubs chasing them. So, he's certainly going to be a fascinating one. And May as well could be taken very early in the draft and is no short of suitors.
No, he's not. And Archer May, so he played in the 2023 Sandringham Dragons Premiership side. He went to Richmond VFL, so not part of the lineage of talent this year, but he's certainly come through that pipeline and then gone to Subiaco this year and been able to really elevate his form. His hands are so good overhead. And although he is still 21 years of age, he's probably got a little bit more of a mature body than that. He got a fair bit of interest about 5 or 6 weeks ago was when it really started to heat up. And then he came out that week and kicked 4 goals. And I think that really cemented his status as one to watch. And he's certainly maintained his spot right at the top of draft board. So he'll be one to watch probably in the first round if you look at it that way in the mid-season draft.
Yeah, he's added 2 goals to his season tally in the Waffle versus Sample State game, which certainly didn't hinder his chances. And he's certainly put a great case forward, like you said, since leaving Richmond's VFL program. So another one they'll certainly claim. You can add the likes of Sean Manor and Ben Jepson to that list. They weren't recruited out of Richmond's VFL directly, but certainly came through that system at some point in their careers to the AFL. Another one out of Punt Road's VFL program, Massimo Razzo, who was among the first few names to put their name forward as a mid-season draft contender, had some blistering form as a small forward, showed some work rate through midfield as well under Jake Batchelor in Richmond's VFL program, and has steadily built a pretty strong crack.
Yeah, he has. He's so clean below his knees, 171 centimetres. There's a place for those sort of players, mosquito fleet of small forwards these days, and he's shown that he can go into the midfield and really inject life into there. Whether he does that at AFL level, I guess we'll find out. But probably in the last couple of days has fallen out of conversations a little bit. Remains a 50-50 chance to get picked up. The Western Bulldogs are keen. They've got Luke Williams in their recruiting team, and he's the former Western Jets talent lead. So he has seen Massimo Razzo up close. North Melbourne also keen on a small forward. So he could be in their reckoning, and they have done some work on him. But he remains a 50-50 selection, as does Sam Toner. Probably more of an outside selection now, but just to finish off on the Richmond VFL side of things, medium forward, hybrid type, dominated for Young Guns, 7 goals across the 2 games, and has been in and out of Richmond's VFL side as a result of the health of the AFL listed forwards. But Carlton is still keen. They're keen on a few, though, with that first pick. So Sam Toner might be one they take, might not. But the fact that Richmond VFL are putting so many names in lights, as we've repeated a couple of times, sort of speaks to how well their program is going. We'll move on to Caleb Lewis, who is out of Casey's VFL. A little bit like Sam Toner, he's only played the 1 game this season because of the health of Melbourne's AFL-listed forwards, but his running power and his leap really lends itself well to the next level, and I think the club player link that's been the strongest across the last month or so has been Caleb Lewis to the Gold Coast Suns.
Looks like our first pick's in. And it is Tom McCarthy to West Coast, as we've spoken about in our preview. A selection that I think a lot of people have thought was coming from a few weeks out. As you mentioned, he's been quite comfortable rested in the VFL over the weekend, and that's a name that the Eagles will get to add to their stocks immediately, which is always a great advantage of the mid-season draft, is the instant injection of talent. And for a club in West Coast's position, being able to select the best available talent, not in the AFL at this point in the year, is certainly something that's just going to help a little bit through what's been a difficult season so far. We'll come back to the picks as they come through, and we'll get through some of these other names. Harrison Ram's another, for those looking at key defensive options.
Yeah, he could be in line at pick number 3 for Port Adelaide. They've been linked heavily to him in recent days.
So North Melbourne next on the clock. They looked at maybe a Zach Banch. Archer May's one if they want that key position option, and that's certainly something that they've looked at over the course. And if they want help for Nick Larkey, if they need some more key position help, they're certainly going to have some options here if they want them.
Yeah, they are. So do they want speed in the forward half? Do they want a key position player? Probably need a little bit of both to add to their depth. We know they've had the bevy of top selections in recent years, which has led to them getting a lot of midfielders in the draft. But they've got 2 selections. It's what they put a higher premium on. And they've been heavily linked to Archer May. So we'll see if he's the one they select.
Just waiting for North Melbourne's pick to come through at the moment. And then to follow them as well afterwards will be Port Adelaide, Carlton, and the Western Bulldogs to round out the top 5. And some of those clubs could really be, I guess, waiting to see what North do. It's going to be a pretty critical pick.
And they've taken Zach Bench from
There
the
you go.
Werribee Football Club. So, yeah, a 173 centimetre forward. He's sort of that higher half forward who's got the running power to connect up the ground, really deliver it really well inside 50, and so many of his possessions result in scores, and I think score involvements is a great statistic to look at. And yeah, North were one of 3 clubs that interviewed him, I think, across a 36-hour period, so he had a really busy period there where clubs came knocking, and it continues a pipeline of talent coming out of the Werribee Football Club. We talked about Richmond VFL. They had 3 selected in the national draft last year, did Werribee, and now they've got Zach Bench in the mid-season draft.
Yeah, and if you and probably easy comparison might be Sean Manor as well.
Yeah.
Being able to play probably that high half forward role, like you said, great link up player, scoreboard impact, but really smart and just intelligent around the ball and what he's able to do with it. So going to be quite an interesting one for North and how they maybe use him and what they get out of him. We saw them take Jonty Payne last year at pick 1 and good numbers in the VFL, yet to break through just yet, but they're getting some nice little pieces in what has been probably a bit of a long rebuild, but these are little pieces that can certainly add up to the end product.
Cooper Harvey, another one in that sort of small forward brigade that North will hope to build around. And yeah, Port Adelaide are the next club that are on the clock.
Yeah.
And yeah, we've talked about their desire to possibly get a key defender. They've been linked really heavily in recent days to Harrison Ram. He's got the athleticism and he's got the height as well. He's got the ability to lock down really good aerially. So we'll see if they take him. Michael Selwood and Manny Liddy, a couple of others have been linked to. Manny Liddy, a midfielder, and Michael Selwood, a defender out of the West.
A club that has 3 selections tonight, so could get a bit of a variety. I think a small forward will be something that they certainly address. And it looks like they have taken Harrison Ram, key defender out of Glenelg, quite a raw prospect, draft eligible last year. Was even playing reserves football this year for the Tigers, but just another one out of Glenelg's program that are the reigning premiers of the SANFL, and they continue to develop their own talent as well as doing quite good on the recruitment pool as well.
Yeah, quite skilled as well for a big guy, and he got a state combine invite last year, I believe, but probably wasn't seen at the forefront of recruiters' minds in what was such a deep draft. So yeah, he's gone back to the well and shown what he can do at senior level, and at 196 centimetres, that ability to play on some big bodies at SANFL level, no doubt hold him in good stead, Mitch.
Carlton, pick 4 coming up. They'll be on the clock. Like you mentioned, Sam Toner's one. And maybe similar to Port Adelaide. If Port Adelaide had gone the Ewan McKinley, Jacob Newton route, that really could have shifted Carlton's thinking. But Zach Bench, really the only small forward off the market at the moment. And could see the Blues take a Newton, maybe a Toner if they want that mobile, taller option. And they'll certainly have a few options. I don't know if they go the Liam McMahon straight out of their VFL. Had him in the SSP over the summer and probably just didn't see enough.
The Cinderella story if they went for Liam McMahon. Same with Sam Toner to some degree, but it sounds like Jacob Newton's the most likely for them. So we'll see if they do get that speed in the front half that they probably need to complement the Charlie Curnows and the Harry Mackays of the world. But we do know that they've got Tyson Gresham coming at the end of the year who will add that in the national draft if they so want. But they've gone for Flynn Young, another one out of the Werribee Football Club.
Fantastic selection. Had such a start to his 2025 campaign. I don't know how Werribee are going to go the second half of the year, but then you go back to their 2023, they'll lose the Manners and a few others to interstate comps, and they come and win the flag, and 2 in a row. It's going to be a big hit for them, but it's going to be a massive boost for Carlton. Like we said, that small forward, half forward, can roll through midfield, but so crafty, goal sneak. He'll get into the jumpers of the opposition, and he'll make them know when he has a pretty good day.
It's going to be a lot of VFL watchers, no doubt, that are very happy tonight to see Flynn Young go because, he has been doing some special things for Werribee. Really looking forward to seeing how he can translate it to the next level, and I think it definitely addresses that need for Carlton, just maybe not the player we expected, but it still addresses the need.
Yeah, we're certainly in the mix.
He was,
and like you said, Zach Bench might have been one, Jacob Newton might have been one, and Flynn Young is the one, and I think it's a great pickup for the Blues, who've got a nice feisty half forward, and it's another one out of Werribee, like you said. Western Bulldogs on the clock. Small forward, maybe any type of defensive option, whether that's tall, clean ball user, runner. Who do we think here? Maybe a Michael Selwood?
Yeah, Michael Selwood they've been really keen on if they do want that defender. If they want the small forward, then Ewan McKinley and Massimo Razzo are the two to look at. Ewan McKinley out of the SANFL, Massimo Razzo, as we talked about, out of Richmond's VFL program previously, the Western Jets and Keilor Football Club.
Yeah, I'd like to see them go Selwood. I think they just want an extra ball user out of the back
Yep.
half. I don't know what they've got out of Lockie Bramble this year compared to last year.
Yep.
But someone else to help Bailey Dale might
So he
be
doesn't need to
be
get 49 disposals a game. Yeah.
might be a way to go. And the
Yeah.
Dogs have selected Michael Selwood. There you
Yep.
go. Out of Peel Thunder, a premiership player for them last year. Was pretty solid in this year's Sample versus Waffle state game, and has just steadily built his case over the past 18 months.
Yep.
The Peel, they gave lost Jacob Blight this time last year after
Yep.
his stellar start to the season, and it's just doing such great things. I think they are
Yep.
tied to Fremantle. There's one of
Yep.
only 2 Waffle clubs to be tied to an AFL club, but they do great. So a lot of their great own work,
Yep.
and Selwood's just this great medium-sized intercept option, can run it out, good kick, smart.
Yep.
I think not too far off Tom McCarthy, and I don't think quality either.
No, exactly right. He's got that diverse skill set that you want for someone in the back half. Can set up the game, but can also defend really strongly as well. Essendon on the clock for their first pick tonight, first of up to 4 picks that they'll take. We know that they're going to want a ruck at some point tonight. Their rucks probably aren't as in demand at this mid-season draft as what they typically are, so they might look to use one of their later selections on a ruck and use this one on an Archer May or a Riley Mason, who are both sought after by some other clubs across the mid-season draft. They're both key forwards. Have also put some work into Floyd Burmeister, who's seen as a key forward at the next level if they want someone that's rawer. So do they take someone that's ready-made? How do they balance that with the fact that they need some injury cover and some plug-and-play players?
Yeah, the Will Hawes one that could be on their radar and train with
as a
them
key
out of
defender.
their VFL
Yep.
program, and maybe I'll talk in the post show about maybe what the AFL can look at between AFL clubs and the players on their own listed tied VFL squad. So I'd like
Yep.
to see a player like Will Haw be able to play for Essendon this weekend without being picked up. And there you have it, Archer May picked up to Essendon, 198, 197 centimetre.
199,
There
yeah.
you go, he's grown 2 centimetres.
Yep.
Key forward
Yep.
certainly looks at a list need for them. They've lost Cole Langford only for a little bit, but I think
Yep.
that the key forward was certainly an area that they wanted a bit more pressure on from selection. Nate
Yep.
Caddy's going to be the one for the future, but Peter Wright and Cole Langford are going to be the ones for the long haul as well. And
Yep.
Archie Mace is another one that can really press his case.
I think the good thing about Archer May, if he is there for the long haul that you talk about, is you want 2 key forwards that you build your team around. Nate Caddy isn't someone that you want to be rucking, but you do need a second ruck, and Archer May is certainly capable of playing that position. I think Archer May complements Nate Caddy quite well, and the positive is that both of them are very, very good at ground level as well. So if they did become that 1-2 punch inside 50 for
Yep.
Essendon, I think it looks quite dynamic with the litany of smalls they've got coming through their NGA, and Isaac Kaka already there.
Yeah, like we've floated before, we thought the ruck selection would probably be one of their later ones.
Yep.
As opposed to the last few mid-season drafts, the demand for ruckman probably isn't as high this
Yep.
year, probably giving Essendon a better advantage to look at the best available
Yeah.
from the whole list rather than the best available ruckman.
Yep.
Gold Coast next on the clock. Caleb Lewis is being very closely linked.
Yeah.
Key forward for them. They probably want someone else to slot in next to Jed Walter and Ben King, and,
Yep.
and he certainly could be one.
Yeah, that high leaping, that running power. They've also been linked to Oscar Adams, the former St Kilda player who's played some footy at Sample level in recent times and has improved as well. So they're the 2 players they've been closely linked to. They've got a couple of picks. Who do they prioritise? Who do they get with the first pick? Who do they risk that they might miss out on if they wait for the second pick?
Ex-Crow Paddy Parnell, who's at Glenelg with Oscar Adams, said Zero Hanger this week that he's actually one of the best genuine defenders he's ever played with and should be back on an AFL list. So he had probably an arduous 2 years.
Yep.
with
And it is Oscar Adams.
And
that
it
gets
is, there
picked
you
up.
go.
Yep.
He had probably a difficult 2 years at St Kilda. Some off-field stuff probably hurt his selection chances here and there as well, which was quite disappointing. Back to SA, finding some great form, and now getting his second chance, which is great to see on the Gold Coast.
Yeah, absolutely it is. And yeah, it just adds a bit more experience and a bit more depth to a side that is going so well this year and looks to be making their run really well. Collingwood on the clock next. They've got a couple of selections tonight. They're the last team that's taking part tonight that's actually got a selection. So every other team that has taken part has already had at least one selection. But yeah, we know they've been linked to some players internally, Riley Mason and Josh Brown at the top of that list. We talked about Riley Mason, the key forward before. Do they want some midfield depth with Josh Brown, who's shown his ball winning and his attacking abilities in that VFL midfield alongside the likes of Lockie Sullivan and Finn McRae at different times this year? The fact he gets a go in that VFL midfield when the Pies have a fair bit of depth shows how highly they view him. And he's also been training with the AFL squad in recent weeks as well.
Would be a great pick. I'd love for him to be on an AFL list over in West Coast Waffle side. So based out of WA, a WA product at the Waffle with West Coast. Didn't quite get a look in some very hard years over in Perth, and then a couple years in Victoria with Williamstown and Collingwood's VFL. It looks like the pick for the Pies is just about to come in.
Key forwards Noah Howe and Floyd Burmeister also
Yep.
linked, but more with their second selection, as is Rod Ali.
And the pick
out.
is Rowan Steele.
So former Casey Demon
Yeah.
gone out west to improve his footy, but that's a really good selection. We've talked about Werribee and we've talked about Richmond as well, but Casey had Jai Cully promoted from their VFL program to an SSP pick at the start of the year. And they had 3 players from their program represent the Young Guns, and now they get Rowan Steele drafted. So he played alongside the likes of Jimmy Munro and Mitch White in the 2023 Casey Premiership team.
This is a ready-made wingman option for the Pies.
Yep.
23 years old, has played a bit of wing this year for West Perth. Like you said, has spent a bit of time with Casey before making that move over, and it's really paid off for him, getting a look at a different level of football and the waffle and the different styles. And, the long-term investment that Collingwood want in some of these guys as well. He can be playing this year, but they think about future after Steele side bottom.
Yep.
Once Ed Allen probably moves into an inside midfielder role,
Yep.
who is slotting out wide. So they've got Will Hayes, who, we got to see a look over on the weekend, but I think Rowan Steele is a player who can play inside, outside, and sometimes with these list managers, they'll recruit a player who's a wingman, play him at half-back, forward, and they'll turn into fantastic players.
Probably
in
the
different
biggest
positions.
surprise we've seen so far, Rowan Steele.
Yeah, I think so. Flynn Young as well, probably up there too.
Yep.
But certainly players that we thought might be in contention.
Yep.
But at the same time, maybe not as early as we thought. So this is a couple of early surprises, which is nice to see.
Absolutely, yeah. So West Coast are the next team with selection. Milan Murdoch's one that's been linked to them with their second selection.
Yeah, back-to-back Simpson medal winner. Yeah, best on ground in this year's Waffle versus Sample State game. For East Fremantle, has just done the hard yards for so many years and just constantly putting his name up as one of the best players in the competition. And sometimes you just don't see these guys. You think if the best player in the Waffle or the best player in the VFL, like Don Brew might be, why aren't they getting the step up? But so if Milan Murdoch is that next one, that'll be a great story for them. Midfield option potentially. There you go. Jacob Newton is the pick. Small, maybe half forward midfield option out of Norwood. Nice little spark for them in the front half, which I think will be quite exciting for West Coast.
Adds a little bit of liveliness to that. Yeah, that forward third of the ground, I guess, for West Coast. And he's got speed, got all the attributes you probably want in a small forward. He's sneakily good overhead, but really, really dangerous at stoppage as well. He was there or thereabouts in his draft year, just got overlooked. And has gone back, played some really, really good state league footy, and now he gets his opportunity. North Melbourne, the next club on the clock. One player worth putting on the map from a North Melbourne point of view is Cooper Trembath. Made his VFL debut a couple of weeks ago, kicked 3 goals as a forward, and has been touted as a potential bolter. Essendon have also talked to him. Spent his talent pathway career playing as an intercept defender, has gone forward and impressed. So he's one they could look at. Because we know that they went small with their first pick with Zach Banch. So they're probably going to want someone tall with this one, I think.
Caleb Lewis, Riley Mason, a couple of guys, if they want that key forward, they were weighing up, hopefully Archer Mays there on their second pick off the board. But, potentially we see one of those guys get picked up. And as I said, Trembath can play forward, can play backline. He was a name that we're mentioning this time last year with his form as an overager for Eastern Rangers. So certainly one we'll look at. West Coast, looks like the pick is just about to come through.
Yep.
And it is... North Melbourne. Yeah, well, I'm a pick behind here. And it's Cooper Trembath.
We talked about.
Fantastic.
So, awesome to see. So Eastern Rangers graduate spent last year developing mostly at local footy level, really, in the Eastern Footy League. So one of the stronger competitions in Victoria, and has been very, very good, and then comes in, plays VFL like we said, and his ability to mark is really, really strong. He's so strong one-on-one. He had one of the best vertical leaps at the Combine in the year that was his draft year, which was 2023, but has toiled away, and gets his opportunity. Will be interesting to see whether North start him as a forward or back.
I was going to we said this in the preview show, do they need another swingman? But it certainly doesn't hurt when you've got your Combins, your Lobes, your Pinks.
Yep.
There's probably a couple more, your Will Dawsons. It's probably one that they'll get a few VFL minutes into a bit more this year.
Yeah.
But was great in, like you said, in the Coates Talent League last year, great at local footy. And then he got his VFL debut for North and looked pretty promising up front. So there's plenty of boxes to tick, plenty of versatility, strong marker, good aerial. This is going to be a nice little addition.
And I know lots of North Melbourne Tragics have absolutely loved what they've seen from him at training and that sort of thing as well. So a really good story for them, and hopefully he can make a good fist of his go at AFL level.
Next pick, Port Adelaide. Manny Liddy, maybe one. They've been linked to Nathan Kruger a little bit if they want to go for that key position. I think it could be that forward, half forward. Ewan McKinley maybe.
I think Ewan McKinley is one that they'll go with. Yeah.
And there you have it. Ewan McKinley picked up. We're doing all right so far tonight. Out of North Adelaide.
Small forward.
Yeah, small forward, half forward, can maybe push up a little bit further, but I think, they'll might play him a little bit deep.
Yep.
Depends how they want to use him and Willie Rioli together if they do use them both at the same time.
Yep.
But such a strong season with North Adelaide. Was listed for the Samfuls first VFL game, but I think he was that leftover emergency option, so didn't quite get the look at that game, but we flagged him as one to watch from the VFL and Samful game. So steadily built his case and has done tremendously well in the Samful this year.
Yeah, he certainly has. Be interesting, Port Adelaide small forward brigade, because he obviously adds to it. You talked about Willie Rioli there, but they've also got Lockie Charlson on their list and Tom Anastasopoulos.
Yeah, they've got a few.
They've got a few. Juggle those around and see which piece is best fit and how they can all sort of complement each other in the medium to long term. Western Bulldogs, the next club on
back
the
on
clock.
the clock.
We
said we took Selwood. McKinley's off the table. Massimo Razzo is probably the one they might look at. Vanch is gone as well.
Yeah.
Do they look at Zach Walker? Do they still want that?
Yeah, they did interview Zach Walker.
Having taken one already. Yeah, do they maybe look at maybe a Massimo Razzo?
Small forward, I'd say Massimo Razzo. We could see our first pass as well.
That's a good point. Yeah, clubs will pass throughout tonight, and usually obviously in the back end, and maybe once they've made one of their selections already. This is their second of 3 picks tonight, and it looks like the pick is just about to come through.
And it's Zach Walker from the Gippsland Power Football Club. That's an unbelievable story.
One you're very happy with, I can assume.
Yeah, I am. So, Phillip Island Football Club. Spent time with them last year. Came onto Gippsland's list this year, having not made their list as an 18-year-old. There were question marks over his kicking. But, his athleticism and his intercept marking has really caught the eye this year for the Gippsland Power. He played a couple of Young Guns games and he's so good aerially. Had a good opportunity to have a chat to him a couple of weeks ago and really down-to-earth guy. That I guess exposure playing senior country footy certainly holds him in good stead. He's clean, he's athletic, he's really, really good intercept marker. He's actually currently in concussion protocols, so might not be able to play.
That's all right. He's got plenty of time to go.
But a great night down at the Phillip Island Football Club as well.
Yeah, great little double piece for them after taking Michael Selwood. So I knew you were going to be happy with that one.
I
can't wipe the smile off your face at the moment. Essendon next on the clock. Took Archie May with their first selection at pick 6. Is this the ruck call? Very well might be, but there aren't that many selections after here for the Bombers. We just have the Suns, the Pies, Port again, and then the Essendon have the last 2 selections if they want to use them. So they could again. I'm taking Archie May to look at a tall defender. Is it the Will Hoare option, or do they take a ruckman like an Eastland, Crosley?
I think you go a defender. I'd love to see them promote from within their VFL program. Will Hoare, Matthew Foley, maybe even a Cam Nyko.
Oscar Smart's another one. Looks like the pick's in. Lockie Blackiston.
So we knew from a ruck point of view it was going to be Lockie Blackiston from the Waffle, or it was going to be Braden Crossley from the VFL. They've gone with Lockie Blackiston, who they put some time into last year. Yeah,
25, 26-year-old. Still he built himself over at East Fremantle. Was playing reserves not that long ago. And came on the radar a little bit last year for the Bombers. And this year has just really continued his form. A bit of a big body as well. Like, I think you might have got something similar out of Braden Crossley with how he really uses his size and pushes them out of the way. So you look at the Bombers, they probably just need to alleviate Todd Goldstein at some point this year. And if Vigo Vicentini probably isn't there yet, you don't want to throw him to the Wolves. We're in the deep end just yet. And he and Blackiston could be someone who maybe gets a debut in 2025.
Yeah, and worth noting, they've also been linked to Zach Harding, but probably for similar reasons to Vigo Vicentini. Do you want to bring in a 19-year-old ruck? You need sort of that depth now, and Lockie Blackiston certainly offers that. If you wanted to play him at AFL level in 2025, I think you'd feel more than comfortable doing so. I think that's why Essendon's made that selection. Gold Coast is the next team on the clock.
Yeah,
Caleb
so
Lewis.
Oscar, we had those 2 names down. Oscar Adams, Caleb Lewis, probably the 2 that they'll look at. And maybe they just go for the both at each end. And I think Lewis certainly could be one closely looked at and certainly slid to them so far. And as we mentioned, maybe just some extra key position help down forward for Damien Hardwick, they're building a list. And it's not necessarily that Caleb Lewis might be an instant injection for them, but very well could be pressing his name as a debut chance in the second half of this year.
Yeah, certainly. We'll see if those rumours between Caleb Lewis and the Suns have been true or a ruse in just a second, and they have been true.
There you go.
Caleb Lewis to the Suns from the Casey Football Club. So
solid in the Young Guns game. Only played 1 VFL game this year. And it was early in the start of the season when the Demons I think they had Van Rooyen and Jefferson and playing and looking to get the minutes into those guys early into the
Yeah.
season. And he just got his chance up forward, kicked a couple of goals, and unfortunately fell back to the local level. Just given that
Yeah.
they've had to play Van Rooyen, Bailey Fritsch, Jefferson, Aiden Johnson, plenty of guys in and out of the AFL. It just hasn't given him that much of a chance. But it adds to a nice little run last year with Casey. I think he played a little bit for Footscray as well. Prior to last season, so he's been here and there in the VFL, and he's finally on an AFL list.
Got to give a plug to the Southern Football Netball League in Melbourne. So Tom McCarthy made his name at the Southern Football Netball League, playing for Highton in Division 2 of that competition. Josh Lai on Port Adelaide's list from that competition from Cheltenham. And now Caleb Lewis. Yes, we know he's been Casey listed, Footscray listed at different times. He's played less than 10 games of VFL footy. So Gold Coast have obviously done their work. They've gone and watched him play for the Dingley Football Club, and 66 goals in 19 games he kicked for them last year. So, yeah, that high leap and that running power really coming to the fore for them.
Looks like we are about to have the 15th overall pick, Collingwood. Looks like the pick might be in quite quickly. So, adding to their earlier selection of Rowan Steele, the Pies. Noah House. Well, there you go. A name on last year's mid-season draft list out of South Adelaide. Actually played for the SA under-18s in the national championships as an overager. I think a few clubs wanted to just see him at that level and at that pace of game. So a key forward and for the Pies who haven't looked at Riley Mason and instead have gone the Noah House route, and another SA boy over at Magpie Land.
Yeah, he is. And yeah, there was rumours that they were looking at him in recent times, 196 centimetres, just to add to that sort of key forward stocks, like you said. At the moment on their list, they're relying on some guys who are ageing. We know they're going to get Zach McCarthy as that NGA top 20 sort of selection at the end of the year, who can play as a centre-half forward ruck. But Noah Howes can, potentially slot in alongside him for that sort of medium to long term if he becomes what they hope he can become, as that sort of athletic big guy who, probably fits the modern prototype of tall forwards these days with the athleticism and clean hands below their knees. Port Adelaide next on the clock.
Yeah, so that's rounded out the first two rounds of the mid-season drafts. It's just 3 picks remaining. So Port Adelaide will be next on the clock, and then we'll have Essendon for the final 2 selections in the 17th and 18th picks, which are technically over 2 rounds, but we'll get through these pretty quickly. I'm just trying to think for Port Adelaide at the moment.
Lee is one to look at if they want some midfield depth. He's one that has been linked there. Obviously, he is from South Australia as well, so that certainly helps.
Well, they've got a couple in their sample program. Jez McLennan, former Gold Coast player, Jack Watkins, who joined them, SSP for them earlier this year, and then Josh Lai, who you mentioned earlier, got that last list spot, and they opened up 3 spots earlier this year by moving Todd Marshall, Xavier Walsh, and Tom Cochrane. So are they going to go for like replacements there? I don't think you can get a Todd Marshall in the draft, but they might just want someone else in that pecking order for a key forward. But Jack Watkins or Jez McLennan, flankers, but at opposite ends. McLennan more of that halfback, ready-made, and as is Watkins, 2 years as North Melbourne's captain and fantastic and VFL Team of the Year player, and has put up fantastic numbers for the power in the sample. And what is the different side? Pick in Manny Liddy. There you go, out of Central District.
Yeah, as we considered that it could be. So a ball winner, a natural ball winner, aggressive around the contest. He's improved his running power, his speed in recent times, and you know what you're going to get from him, sort of that in and under type of player. He played in that under 18s versus under 20s South Australia game and was very, very strong in that game as well. So he gets his opportunity. Not too dissimilar a story to what you're talking about with Milan Murdoch.
Yeah, it's a nice pickup, I think, for Manny Liddy. Central District have become a decent farm for talent over the last few years, and Jez McLennan was one of them before he moved over to Port Adelaide. So a bit of depth in midfield. They might use him elsewhere. Certainly could push him a little forward or back as well. So this is a nice little pickup for Port Adelaide, who, after picking up Ewan McKinley and as well as Harrison Ram, they've got a little bit of variety in those 3 selections. Essendon with their 3rd of 4 picks, 3rd of the night, and they've taken 2 talls in Archer May and who they take it with their 2nd selection, Lachlan Blackiston. So
I wonder whether they go for a defender, having gone the tall forward ruck option, or Will Hall is clearly the option there. If they want to promote from their VFL, they've been linked to Oscar Smart as a small forward. We know that they've got Adam Swade coming, who will be that small forward, has seen Al-Arkar.
Isaac Acker as well.
So do they need that sort of player, Matt Foley, too, potentially around the mark if they wanted to promote internally? I reckon they'll use one of these 2 picks.
Yeah, I would like to think so. Or else we're calling it quite early.
Yeah.
Oscar Smart, there you go.
So, great story.
Just like Noah Howes. Last year, had him in the mix, and Essendon was certainly one of them, Bulldogs another, and they've the Bombers have just promoted from within. So it's a great pickup for them. The VFL program last year had Campbell Gray head over to Tigerland, and this is second year in a row that they've picked up one straight out of their own program, the Bombers.
Brilliant story, Oscar Smart. So, Bendigo Pioneers originally, and probably really put his head down, improved his work rate and, his attitude towards footy off the field and that sort of thing, and, gets his rewards for it. And I think it's shown with his form this year how well he's been going in terms of, that professionalism side of things. I think he's really matured off the field, and I think that's really showing with his footy. He gets the opportunity at Essendon VFL.
Just before we get to the last pick, which is Essendon, whether they use that or not, for those that are watching, stick around. We'll answer some of your questions. I'm seeing plenty of names in the chat. Spuddick is saying nice mustache. I'm hoping that's for me.
Yes, I don't think it's for me.
But for Tyler Chapman and a few others who have been hanging around since the start, we will get to your questions. Alan Jones too. Plenty that will recap. Phoenix's our producer has added a few in, and there we go. Pick 18, Liam McMahon out of Carlton's VFL program, former Collingwood tall forward. I'm loving this pick. I was hoping he got a spot at the Blues in the SSP, and he's returned to the VFL and kicked multiple goals every game, 3 or 4 goals just about every game this year. Played I think 16 games last year, kicked 45 goals and kicked at least 2 goals. So since his first game of the 2024 season, he hasn't kicked 1 or less goal. I can't remember if he played over the weekend or not, so I'm only going back to last week. But another key forward option for them, and ready-made as well. Archie May could be, but Liam McMahon certainly is. Yeah,
former Pies lister, and if you're a VFL fan, you're loving tonight. No passes, interestingly, but So out of Carlton, like you said, and I think he offers something a little bit different to Archie May as well. He's a different type of key forward.
200 centimetres as well.
More athletic, that rounds off the night. I guess I'll throw to you, Mitch, your immediate reactions based on what we've seen before we do get into some more, I guess, club-by-club analysis and answering fan questions, which we will do.
Well, if you tuned into last year's mid-season draft coverage on Zero Hanger, Noah Howes, Oscar Smart, there was someone else as well who I think got picked up, Cooper Trembath. Guys who have gone back to footy and really just plugged hard and maybe missed out on the national draft as well. 12 months later have found their opportunity. So Trembath sticking at North Melbourne, Oscar Smart sticking at Essendon as well, and Noah Howes getting a gig over at Collingwood. So that's absolutely fantastic for those three who have worked really hard. Going back, if you just tuned in, Tom McCarthy taking a pick 1, very well expected, a player who could get a look in pretty quickly. One of the surprises of the night, maybe not actually a massive surprise given he was tied to the Roos, but Zach Banch is a very nice pick up at pick 2. Thought he might go a bit later at their second selection. Harrison Ram, one we might have expected a little bit at Port Adelaide, just looking for a bit more key defensive options. Haven't really hit the nail on the head or struck that well with key defenders at the draft all that lately, the power, and that's why they had to go get Radikalea, Zerk, Thatcher, Alir. So hopefully this is one that really works for them. Flynn Young at pick 4. The 2 Werribee players in the first 4 picks, and one that we named a little bit, I think, in our first preview of the year as a name that certainly should be on the watch and had some pretty strong performances to start his season. Michael Selwood out of Peel Thunder for the Western Bulldogs at pick 5. Nice little ready-made option for the Western Bulldogs, who I think could be playing very quickly. It's not to say it's easy to get into Luke Beveridge's side, but he'll be knocking on the door, and I think some good VFL form will have his name up in lights pretty quickly.
I think looking at the draft overall, there's some really, really good stories there. So I look at Oscar Smart as one who's gone to the State League, played some really good footy. Cooper Trembath, similar situation, but then you've got players who have been at the State League for significantly longer periods of time. So Manny Liddy getting that opportunity, really, really good. And then, some of the footy factories continuing to produce a couple of Casey players or an ex-Casey player with Roan Steele. And then also Caleb Lewis, Richmond obviously getting Tom McCarthy drafted. And then we also had Werribee produce 2 more.
Yeah, there's plenty of VFL talent, a few Samful, a couple Waffle. So a nice little mix of both. I think Zach Walker was the only one out of the Coates Talent League.
The only one out of the Coates Talent League. So, I mean, if you look at players who are, considered maybe a little bit unlucky, Massimo Razzo was talked about in conversations, Zach Harding as well, and Floyd Burmeister, probably 3 that come to mind, and Sam Toner, by the way.
I think as well another one, Rod Ali, we spoke about this off-camera pre-show, is certainly wouldn't have been surprised if he got picked up, but I think clubs will want just another few months of him. It's his first year at Coates Talent League level. He's over-ager, and he's just one of the most raw prospects you really get. When you talk about almost Cat B rookies, like he was still playing football but very basketball focused before this year.
He was playing Division 4 footy.
Yeah,
local
that's
footy
there you have it.
in the
Yeah.
Eastern League. So, yeah, just give him a bit more time at talent pathway level. Athleticism, great upside, combative as well. So, yeah, he'll continue to develop for the Eastern Rangers. Played a couple of Collingwood VFL games. But, yeah, one to watch for the end of the year. Mitch, should we get into some fan questions?
Let's get into some questions. So for those that have plugged in the chat on our YouTube, let's have a look at Top One Monite. What do you guys think of the West Coast picks? So the Eagles taking Tom McCarthy, pick one, as we've mentioned, and has been well documented. This is a player who could come in pretty quickly. Like we saw Ryan Marrick, Jack Hutchinson have gigs with the Eagles quite quickly after their mid-season draft. And I think it's the exact same story with Tom McCarthy. Clean ball user, intelligent defender. Give him plenty of run and smart, efficient ball movement out of that back half. And I think this is going to be a nice pickup for them. And as we've seen with his Richmond VFL, he'll be pretty ready-made.
Yeah, he will. We had a question pre-show about whether he could play in the midfield, given West Coast do need some experience through there. And does he have the skill set to play in the midfield? I think West Coast have clearly picked him up as a half-back player. I guess you can argue the point that could they have picked up a midfielder, given that they do need probably a little bit more senior bodies, particularly as the year goes on, being so young in there. But I do think he stays at half-back. They were linked to Brandon Parfitt probably for that reason, to get more seniority in there. But yeah, he'll be that distributing half-back. That's where he's played all his footy at sort of higher levels. And even though he did play a little bit of midfield at certain stages for Hyatt and different levels like that, his best footy has always been seen as off the half-back line. So yeah, he'll be off half-back. So a great first selection for them, as we knew was going to be the case.
I think this is a question pre-draft, but we're happy to answer as well. Trek Campfish said, how many spots available for the 300 that have nominated? It was obviously such a tough, I think it was 338, 337 prospects that had nominated for this week's draft, and a lot of them are very hopeful and just do it for the case, and it might, AFL club might see their name on the list and think, oh, we'll have a look into him, or maybe it's an ex-AFL player, not knowing that they were kind of keen to come back into the league. So 18 spots, and like you said, we thought there might be a pass or two for this draft, but all 18 selected, and it's not always the case for a lot of hopefuls, and like you said, some of them missed out. Massimo Razzo, Riley Mason, Josh Brown at Collingwood. There's certainly a couple that will go back to the VFL, Sanford, Waffle, Coates Talent League, and like we said, for Rod Ali will be one that I think will have a lot of interest in the home stretch to the national and rookie drafts.
Yeah. We get asked, why do Essendon get 4 picks? So the picks are determined by the number of list spots you have available. Clubs can choose to keep some list spots available at the start of the year if they don't want to take SSP selections and they want to keep that open to add some players in the mid-season, but also list spots open up if you put players on the long-term injury list, and Essendon have obviously been unfortunately decimated by injury.
Yeah, and then like as we said, we might see clubs pass, and I think what it does is gives clubs they don't have to spend that money on their salary cap, just gives them a little bit of pressure off the cap that they can potentially hold over for next year as well. So interesting we didn't go down that path, but it's certainly something that we've seen in years gone by. Phoenix Trinidad, producer Phoenix, I'm not answering your second question about why Melbourne no pick, but I guess we kind of just did. But his other question is, are you more likely to get picked up if you have prior AFL experience? I don't think it's the case.
No.
On average, there's about 2 ex-AFL players per year.
Yep.
And I'm trying to think if we had any this year. I don't think we had any ex-AFL players from what I'm looking at.
No.
So Liam McMahon's
of course
on an AFL list, but didn't debut.
Yep.
And Oscar Adams is in the same boat. So there you go, 2 previously AFL listed players, but never actually debuted at the top level. So certainly doesn't hurt. But if there's a reason you're not on a list, then clubs will want to be asking the question why, as opposed to those that are still working their way up to the top flight, like a Tom McCarthy did, like a Zach Banch did. So that's probably the
other thing I'd add is if you have been delisted, you haven't been picked up as a delisted free agent, or you haven't been traded, then I think what you need to actually do to prove your worth to get onto an AFL list is show clear improvement from what you did the previous year when you were on an AFL list, which can often be quite difficult to do when you're not playing as a full-time footballer coming out of a full-time program. So I would argue that it's probably more slanted the other way for that reason.
Question I'm happy to answer. Lachlan Hurley asks, who do you think's the most relevant in Supercoach? I'm in a draft league, Lachlan, and I'm hoping I can get Tom McCarthy off the waiver wires pretty quickly. I think he'll be one that'll be playing pretty quickly. We saw Ryan Marrick take a bit of a different role as well. So whether that's them kind of hoping to get Ryan Marrick, who's very Supercoach relevant this year, into a new position to afford Tom McCarthy a pretty easy transition into the top flight. So that could be something to keep an eye on. As far as some others, just looking at the lists, I'm just trying to think who might be playing pretty quickly, and usually you're going to steer away from key position players. Jacob Newton's another one that went to West Coast.
Yeah.
If he plays a bit higher up the ground, he might be one to look at. But at this point of the year, maybe just plenty of rookies to come in the second half of the season will certainly alleviate some of those super coaches. So one for the fantasy guys out there, that one answered for you.
I'll let you answer this one too from Sean Burgess, because you had a beaming smile from ear to ear when Flynn Young got selected. So he saw some videos from what Carlton put up. Do you think he will be a good fit for the Blues?
Well, they certainly have addressed a small forward, bit of zip in that front half. I would have liked to maybe have seen them look for some more disposal efficiency out of the back half, but like you said, I'm very happy with this pick. It's interesting to see where they see their small forwards at when they've got such a long list. Like they recruit Francis Evans for this year. They recruited Razio Fantasia for last year. They've got Jesse Motlop. They've got Corey Durden. They've got Lachlan Fogarty. It's an interesting one. So I don't know if they're going to be. He's not a player I don't think they're going to be using at the other end of the ground. He can maybe roll through midfield, but not in that Carlton engine room. But like you said, the highlight reel is very enticing, and I'd like to think that he's putting pressure on some of those Carlton forwards who aren't firing much this year. Almost immediately.
And worth touching on, and I did touch on it following Carlton selection, but they will have access to another small forward in Tyson Gresham at the national draft. So probably different types of small forwards. Flynn Young obviously has a mature body and has been at VFL footy for a couple of years as well. So, I like the selection. I think it addresses the clearest list need, and also probably makes them more multifaceted if they were to use him in the front half of the ground. I don't know if I'm sold on the quality of their current AFL listed small forwards, which has meant that those tall players have had to do the bulk of the scoring and probably made them a little bit predictable in some ways. So having that pressure and having that ability to score at ground level inside 50 is just going to hold you in good stead.
Question from Jared Austin. Any draft pick playing for Essendon this weekend? Well, we thought it was going to be a chance, just given the injury toll and the amount of key position players that they've lost to injury, not only the last couple of weeks, but the ones that they lost to open up these list spots. So you look, Liam McMahon certainly could be one of the most ready to step up. Like if he was playing at in a VFL side for an AFL list, affiliated club, well, he technically is, but it was on their AFL list. I think he would have been playing at least some point this year. So don't know if he plays this weekend. Would have to make the trip up to Queensland pretty quickly. And look, he'd have a pretty tough task coming up against Harris Andrews in his long-awaited debut. But no, I think they made 3 selection changes tonight. Brought in heaps of smalls as well. I don't think any of them were key position in Sardis, Day Wicks, and debutant Zach Johnson. So going a bit smaller, the Bombers up against the Lions this week. And no, I don't think we'll be seeing...
and worth touching on the fact that Lockie Blackiston and Archer May would be coming from WA to probably the hangar first to get their introduction, and then would have to fly. So I don't see it happening for either of those two players either. But certainly could happen in the next sort of fortnight or so.
Tyler Chapman asks, he said he was keen to see if Brandon Parfitt slips to pick 9 for West Coast, and he was one certainly touted. So missing out, premiership player at Geelong. Probably a lot of thought he was unlucky not to get another contract, but you've seen the direction of Geelong have probably headed in with their midfield group, and where maybe what they were thinking with him. He's gone to Perth, and it's been fantastic in the waffle, as we would expect. Like every time he played VFL, he was so strong and dominant and put himself back in the selection mix straight away at the Cats. And he's really leveled that form at Perth this year, but just no selection tonight.
Well, the interesting thing is they were so closely linked to Brandon Parfitt, but they never actually interviewed Brandon Parfitt. So
whether it was real or not is another question.
Yeah, exactly right. But he certainly could have added something. But he goes back to play waffle footy.
Well, that wraps up our questions. If you want to still get in touch, you can hit us up on Craft the Draft on Instagram. But we've got plenty coming up as well. National champs this weekend for the very avid draft fans out there. So I think it's South Australia versus the Allies this weekend. In the first of, 9 or 10 matches for the national championships. A massive carnival coming up this year.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, really looking forward to it. I think the Allies are going to be very, very hard to stop. Looking at all the state squads, there's quality everywhere. So it's going to be really even. I'm looking forward to some midfield battles.
Well, we might wrap that up, the live stream. Thank you all for kind of tuning in, getting involved. Really appreciate it. And certainly for those that have kept engaged with Craft the Draft this year. under the Zero Hanger umbrella. It's been absolutely awesome this year. We've got plenty to come for, the draft pathways for the rest of this season and into the national draft at the end of the year.
Yep.
What do we have for next week, you reckon?
Next week, I think we'll be looking at some potential matchups in the national championships. We'll obviously be reviewing the first game of that, and it's national champ season. It's probably behind the November draft, probably the most exciting time of the season. So, we'll be giving a comprehensive preview into all things under 18s national championships.
Plenty. That'll be on our YouTube channel, Zero Hangers YouTube channel, this time next week. And if you want to stay engaged with all the latest Craft the Draft content, you can head to our Instagram page and obviously Zero Hangers YouTube page and zerohanger.com.au. Thanks.